So as I'm heading out to the river to do my morning walk, get some fresh air, get some exercise, I was just thinking about this quick story about a lady named Casey that I knew, and and she told me a story about how she got in her first house and how she got out of her expensive apartment that she was paying some crazy money, like 16, 17, 1800. I can't remember the exact number, but she was paying some crazy money for rent. And she was in a one bedroom apartment. And this was down in Florida, Tampa, Florida to be exact. The prices are rising sky high. And she's always complaining, I can't afford this rent. I can't afford this rent. It's just too high. It's going up, it's going up, it's going up. My income is not going up, but the rent is going up. What can I do? This is ridiculous. And she was researching online and reading articles and watching videos and paying attention to the news, and it was saying, it's like a crisis, the rent crisis. Rent is going up all over the place, all over the country, in every city. It's just not this city that she was in. It was all over the country. Even the smaller cities, they're starting to jack up the rent rates. And uh, she was sick of it, but what could she do? You know, there, there's only real estate. There's only like three things in real estate, three places you can stay in life. Well, let me break down. There's two main places. Either two main things about real estate. Either one thing you're gonna either rent or you're gonna buy. One or the other. You can't avoid it. But there are other options. You can move back in with your mom and dad. That's an option. And another option is you can become homeless and live under the bridge, under the interstate. Um, or you can ask your brother or your sister if you can stay with them. Good luck with that. So, I mean, there are other options, but the main two options are either renting or buying. So that was going through her head. It was swimming around in her head all this time because she was making decent money. She was making about 50,000 as a she was a teacher, and I mean she was doing real good, making 50,000. Right? I'm like, what? They're paying that much for teaching these bad behind kids out here? She's like, well, I've got tenure, I've got years, and but she told me she had like a little side gig on this, and she was doing something on the side also. I think she was doing hair on the weekend, something like that. So she was doing extra stuff to make some extra money. So, but yeah, um, so she was making pretty decent money. Pretty decent money. She was making decent money. She was getting by. She was managing. She was living her life, doing her thing, living the American dream. But the American dream was turning into a nightmare because of the rent rates. Because at one point, back in the like early 2000s, she was saying the most she's ever spent on rent was about $900 a month for a one bedroom apartment, and she's been renting, pretty much all her working life after she got out of college. And now it was like mid 2000s, like 2007, 2008, and start working, making money. And like I said, she said she never paid no more than about $900 a month for rent. And then fast forward to 2024, the school system doesn't give you that many raises. So her money was pretty much the same as it was 10 years prior. But the rent started going up. Excuse the wobble. I'm on a bumpy road. Wow. Yeah. turn down this road, get away from the wobble. But yeah, so it's 2024 and the rent is jacked up now everywhere you go. If you want to live in a decent, clean, uh, A-rated or B-rated apartment complex, well, what that means, A-rated, that's like super clean apartment complex, nice areas, and B-grade, just about the same, maybe a little bit less. But yeah, if you want to live in a place like that, you're gonna pay for it. They're gonna get you. They're gonna beat you upside the head with that price. So she had no choice because she didn't want to live in bad neighborhoods and be scared of a car getting stolen or getting getting jacked in the parking lot for a purse, things like that. She get you come outside and there's people sitting on your car or hanging around your car. Yeah, that was not cool. So she didn't want to go down that route. So she was stuck paying sky high rent. And I think her exact number was for a one bedroom. I think she said it was like about 800 square feet, a little bit, maybe a little bit more, 825, something like that. And her rent was close to $1,800. I was like, Casey, why are you paying that much money in rent for a one bedroom apartment? I mean, you you're living down by Channel Side, the upscale area of town. It's the hot spot. Like, wow, why? Well, and then she said, well, it's the lifestyle. She she don't want to be like I said, she didn't want to be in the ghetto in bad areas. So I understand. I get it. I get it. I get it. Because I told her the same thing. Like when I was living in Atlanta uh, a long time ago, I didn't want to live in the ghetto either. I did that one time. I mean, I wouldn't call it the ghetto, but it was not a top tier area, a top tier apartment complex. So I get it. I get it. Yeah, I didn't want to do that either. I always wanted to stay in places nice also. So I get it. But the sacrifice is you're paying all this crazy rent that she was just sick and tired of it. But what can you do? She said, what can I do? I said, well, why don't you move to a less desirable area? I mean, just suck it up. I mean, it is what it is. You, I had to become, hardcore with her. I said, hey, you're making excuses. You're crying and complaining all the time, but either make more money to be able to pay for the rent or just call it quits and just get out of there. Call it quits and get out of there. And peace out. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But I want to live in a nice area. I said, okay. Well, don't complain. I mean, it's one or the other. So, well, at that point, she said, well, what are those other options you were talking about? I told her, hey, as a real estate agent, I studied the market in these areas because I'm down here in Tampa, Florida, as a real estate agent, and I can represent anybody in Florida. But here's a solution for you. Why don't you buy a house? The first thing that popped in her mouth or came out was, I can't afford that. I don't have the down payment for a house. They said, what is it, like 20% you have to put down on a house? I'm like, slow. Pump your brakes, pump your brakes, pump your brakes. There are other ways to get into a house where you don't have to put down that much money. They have different loan packages. Like if you're a military veteran or if you're in the Army or serviceman, they have loans for them where it's 0% down to get into a house. Are you a veteran? No. That's how she said it. No. Are you a first time home buyer? Yeah. Aha. We might have something here. Well, there's a loan out there called the FHA loan. Uh, look into that. And as a matter of fact, I know the exact numbers. You can get a FHA loan with as little as 3.5% down payment. So let's do the math. On a $300,000 loan, let's see, let's do the math. At 3.5% down, that's about a little more than 9,000, probably about $10,000 on a $300,000 loan. I know $10,000. I'm like, all right, now I'm trying to help you out now. You can't keep complaining about everything now. You are working, aren't you? How long have you been working? About 12 years. Okay. Um, I hope you have some kind of money saved up. Well, I have some. And well, can you get ask your mom and dad for a loan or a gift to help you get into a house? Just try that. All you can do is ask, and all they can do is say no. And they're your parents. They love you. That's an option. So what Casey did, so she did that, and she turned around and she went and told her parents her situation, and voila, they helped her out. They gave her a few $1,000s to help her get over the hump for a $300,000 loan at 3.5% down payment. But I said, wait. Did they give you the loan? Well, they said they would. Okay, wait. Before you do that, you have to make this thing official first. You have to get pre-qualified for a loan to see exactly how much you can afford. But before I continue, let me go and get situated out here. I'm just in here talking, and I need to get some fresh air. Oh boy. Yeah. So good friend Casey, she said, well, what are you talking about? What is this pre-qualification stuff you're talking about? Well, this pre-qualification thing I'm talking about is, well, before you jump out there and get a house, you need to know how much you can afford. Oof, what is that funky smell? Oh, I'm about to, what I smell. I mean, it was something else. It smelled like a toilet bowl. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, you have to get pre-qualified first before you can jump out there and get a home. You need to know the numbers. You need to know everything. And the loan officers need to know how much you can afford, your credit history, everything. They need to know your financial background. They need to know all that good stuff. So, of course, she asked me, so what's the first step? What do I need to do? Well, is what you need to do. There are tons of websites you can go online, and you can apply for free just to see. It's like a sneak peek, just to see how much you can afford. Okay. Well, want that? I heard if you keep doing things like that, it'll mess your credit up. Well, yes, it could, but with the pre-qualification, this is just like this is a soft inquiry where you're not giving a lot of information to them to do research on you. You're simply just plugging in some simple numbers, and every site is different, but most sites are closely related and similar. And they're gonna ask you probably how much do you make per month, or what's your annual income, uh, what do you think your credit score is, things like that. So they're not gonna really pull your credit score. They're probably just gonna ask you, what do you think your score is? Eh, Maybe about 3 or 4 more simple questions, just to kind of get a sneak peek into your financial history, your background. And then voila, once you hit enter, they're gonna pop up and they're gonna give you a number, and you'll be pleasantly surprised of the results. Either it's you'll probably get an email, or the numbers might just pop up on the screen automatically. So that's all you need to do to pre-qualify. Okay, very simple. Just a simple solution. Okay. Now, how's that sound, Casey? And she was like, "Well, sounds great, but I'm like, at what? You're tired of your situation. You're tired of paying sky high rent. You complain to me all the time. We're friends, right? Yeah. Okay, well, friends help friends. I'm helping you out. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to get you in a better situation, get you out of that bad situation. So you're going to thank me later. So for some reason, Casey was just stuck on this credit thing. Will my credit be affected? You know, uh, Anytime somebody digs, I have a good credit. It's a little over 700 right now, and I've been told all the time. Every time you do stuff like this online, it starts to mess with your credit score. I want to buy a new car. I want to do this and do that, and I don't want to mess my credit up. I'm like, case. Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. When you apply for pre-qualification online, it's not pulling from your credit score, because you're not actually giving your social security number. You're just giving them your guesstimate, your estimate of what your situation is all about. Now, if you don't give up your social security number, how's that gonna mess up your credit? If they're not pulling from your credit, your social security number. Well, just think about it. If you're just telling them what you think your credit score is, and you're giving your best guess, and you shouldn't guess, you should know your credit score exactly what it is out of those three bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Just give them, put it like this: get all three numbers, add them up, divide by three, and you get an average. Okay, and give that to them, and you know how much you make per year, right? Put that down from your teaching job, and your side hustle. You do report your side hustle income, right? Yeah. So add all that up, give that to them, and get yourself pre-qualified. Do it now. See, talk is cheap. It's time to take action. People say they want to do this and do that, but then when the rubber meets the road, they don't do anything about it. So you need to take action and do it. So tonight, go home, get all your information prepared, get it ready, and just lock and load and pull the trigger. Okay? It's just that simple. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm throwing you a softball, but you need to catch it. Okay? It's just that simple. So She agreed. Casey was like, okay, 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 okay. Now, she had another question though. She was saying, well, once I get this number, what can I do with it? Once I get the, if I get pre-qualified for say 300,000 or whatever I get qualified for, so what do I do with that number? Well, Casey, here's what you can do with that number. You can just write it down on a piece of paper. You can look at it. You can smile at it. You can say to yourself, hey, the numbers might be higher. You might be qualified for 350,000, 400,000. You never know. Whatever that number is, just write it down. And at that point, you'll know that this is your range of what you can qualify for. Okay. Now you have to keep in mind about your bills. They call it the debt to income ratio. And that's on the next level. When you take it to the next level, when you really want to be official with this thing. But for right now, this is just a pre-qualification, just so you can have some simple numbers, so you can be thinking about taking action and really being official with this thing and really applying for a real loan. But we're going to talk about that later, okay? But for right now, this is just an estimate, okay? This is a simple, basic estimate to give you a heads up, give you an idea of what you can do when you're trying to buy a house, okay? Now keep in mind, you don't have to stay in this apartment forever. You don't have to pay sky high rent. You don't have to live like that anymore. Paying, how much you say you were paying? $1,800 a month? That is nuts. That is nuts. Put it like this, why spend that kind of money when you can spend that same amount of money on a mortgage payment and live in a house and have your own privacy, have your own, uh, you can make as much noise as you want. You can do whatever you want to do. You can have backyard parties, front yard parties. Uh, it just look at your mom and dad. They've been living in their house for how many years? And look at the things that you've experienced living in that house with them. Are you following me? Now compare that to living in an apartment. Look at the things you can do in a house that you can't do in an apartment. Think about it. Just the simple things like taking out the trash. Don't you just love taking out that trash? Don't you just love lugging that trash down those steps across the parking lot and flipping it into a dumpster? Don't you just love doing that compared to a house? You have your trash can right outside the garage door, and you put the trash right in the can, and then you push the can to the curb. It's like maybe 20 feet. Compare that to the apartment. And ooh, like I said, those dumpsters and those apartment complexes, they're a feeding ground for pests like raccoons and possums and things like that. Aren't you sick and tired of doing that and dealing with that? You might not have seen one, but they see you. They're probably hiding behind their can, like waiting for you. Here she comes. Here she comes. She's about to throw another bag in. Get it, Joe. Get it. All right, Rob. So, well, like Casey, but here's the situation. Like I said, this is just an estimate. You know, you're just giving it's a preliminary estimate. So you get this number, and at that point, then you can run with it if you want to, or you can just say, forget it. I'm just gonna stay in this apartment forever. Now, do you have any questions? Do you have any more questions? Well, she was asking me, oh, I hope I can afford to make the payments. Well, wait. You hope you can afford to make the payments. You're making the payment right now, right? You're paying how much for rent? 1,800, and you still go out to dinner. You still do things. You still go to the mall. You shop. You do all the things most people like doing in life, right? So you can't afford it. Now, at this point, what was Casey to do? Well, Casey was going to go down and sit down in front of her computer and start filling out information on a bank website. It could be any bank website that supplies mortgage loans or credit unions, or I even told her, hey, you can check into working with mortgage brokers. They can actually connect you with a loan. So it all depends. I mean, it's real simple. So what do you do now at this point? What can she do at this point? I just told you. It's that simple. And that's how you get pre-qualified for a mortgage loan. Okay? So, oh, wow. Just walking down here in Tampa along the riverside, getting some fresh air. Riverside near downtown Tampa. Yeah. And just riding down here and driving around downtown. Like I said, it's condos and apartments, houses back there by the river. But I always say this in real estate, there's two things that's going to happen. Either you're going to buy or you're going to rent. It's one or the other. Hey, yeah. So at this point, what are you to do? You go ahead and get yourself pre-qualified. You're looking to get out of your bad situation. You're paying some sky high rent. No need to keep doing that. And I mean, the rents are, the prices vary from city to city, state to state. But I'll tell you one thing, like I said, the bigger the city, you're gonna be paying some crazy money, especially if you're living like you're trying to live in the hot spot of the city. It's gonna be crazy. And I know, like, say you're paying $1,700 a month, and some people say, "Ooh, that's crazy." But then you go up north to like, say, like New York or places like that, they're dreaming of paying only $1,700 a month for a one bedroom, or Miami, something like that, places like that. Like I stayed down in Miami for a short period of time, and I stayed in a box, a studio box, and it was like this was probably about 15 years ago. The rent was cheaper, but I was down there, and my rent was close to $1,000, and it was like, I swear, it was like, it felt like a 300 square foot box I was living in. It was so tiny. You know, I'm used to living in a 800, 900 square foot apartment when I was in Atlanta. To being stuck in a little a little hot box. I mean, it was just crazy. I'm like, who in the world? Why would anybody want to live like this? But it is what it is. And when you're living in a big city like that, the rent is just out of control. Just crazy. So do yourself a favor if you're in that situation right there. Oh, bright light, sun all in my eyes. I mean, it's like right there. So do yourself a big, huge favor. If you're sick and tired of paying sky high rent like that, sit yourself down in front of the computer and get yourself pre-qualified at any banking website that offers a mortgage loan. It's just that simple. And it's not official, it's just an estimate, okay? That's all you're looking for right now. You just want to get an estimate to see how much you can qualify for. Just that simple. It's just that simple. Be like Casey. She found her She found her a couple of websites and she got herself pre-qualified. She told me this some time ago that she got pre-qualified for a little over $400,000. And guess what? I'll tell you her story later on at another date in another video. But for right now, do yourself a big, huge, huge, huge favor and take action, my friends. Take action. Do it now. Get it done. And I'll see you at the closing table. All right? Bright light.